Hello friend, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Becky if you are new, and today we have some very exciting news that I'm excited to share with you, is that I am partnering with Harvest Right freeze dryers to give one of you all a medium size freeze dryer by the end of this month, which is pretty exciting. So I'm gonna go over some of the details on the giveaway, and then I also do have a recipe that we're gonna make. We are gonna make brown butter, chewy oatmeal chocolate chunk cookies. So Josh is here. So if you all want to say hi to Josh, you can say hi to Josh, and he will be asking questions throughout the live. So if you have questions, go ahead and you can ask them now, and he'll start to save questions, and then we'll have a couple different spots where we can answer questions about the giveaway and also about whatever else is going on.
Cookies, miscellaneous.
Cookies, yeah. Gardening, harvest season is going on right now. Oh, I forgot to mention, the cookies actually have zucchini in them. That's kind of the key ingredient because we are in harvest. So for the Harvest Right giveaway, the link for all the rules and details is going to be down in the description box. But there's a couple really key points that we want to go over together just so that they're out there, and so you don't, just because sometimes it's hard to read all the fine print, but make sure you read the fine print as well. So a couple just kind of housekeeping things with the giveaway is that it is a medium size Harvest Right freeze dryer, which is what I have been using for the past 3 years. And you need to be 18 years or older to enter to win. To enter, you need to give, there is a page on Harvest Right, which the link will be for it down in the description box. And you do need to give your name, your first name, your last name, your phone number, and your email address. Because when we've done giveaways in the past, I haven't done one in over 2 years because scammers come out of the woodwork. And so we wanted to try to find a way to have this giveaway be so that we can kind of reduce some of that. So the way that we are going to announce the winner, we are going to announce the winner on August 29th, Thursday. So next Thursday, not this coming Thursday, but the following Thursday. We will go live on YouTube. We will announce the winner live, and we will call you and email you.
After the live.
After the live. Yeah, we won't call you on the live. We will call you after the fact. So I will not contact any of you. The way that the scammers came out of the woodwork when we've done lives or giveaways in the past is through comments. They just screenshot my photo and then say you won something, and then they ask for shipping, payment, and things like that. So just know the only way you will be contacted if you are the winner is through your phone number and through your email address, the one that you give in
your submission.
Yes.
Yep.
And so I just want to get that out there so that no one falls prey to the scammers that can be out there. You do need to live in the United States, but it does include Hawaii and Alaska. And Harvest Right is actually having a massive sale right now. It's their biggest sale of the year. They do it they have done it every August for the past, since I've had one. And if you want to buy a freeze dryer, you can still buy a freeze dryer. And if you win, you will be credited the amount of a medium-sized freeze dryer. So if you're even interested in a freeze dryer, just check that link down below.
I think their sale right now is up to like $500 off. So
yes, it's the biggest sale that they have.
If you're thinking about it, don't wait to see if you won first, because we can make
You'll
things
get
right.
the credit of whatever, of the medium-sized freeze dryer. Josh, I feel like I'm forgetting a couple of the details.
I think the other one is that there's one entry per person.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't say household, it says person.
So if there's a couple people in your house over 18, each person can enter.
Other than that, yeah, just be wary of impersonators.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about this. I love my freeze dryer. I use it a lot. My friends and family use my freeze dryer a lot. I use it mostly right now during harvest season, but I use it a lot when it's not harvest season as well. And so if you guys have questions, go ahead and ask Josh questions. And I think we're gonna go ahead and start making these brown butter zucchini oatmeal cookies. So right here, I've got 3 very large zucchinis. 'Tis the season. I thought this would be a fun recipe because I can't be the only one that's being bombarded with zucchinis. And luckily, I'm not being bombarded. It's a nice amount of bombardment when it comes to zucchinis. Last year, I planted, I think I had 14 zucchini plants, which is unreasonable amount of zucchini plants for my family. And so if you knew me, I was able to donate some of them to some local pantries and things like that. But this year, I think we have 6 zucchini plants, and tomorrow I'm going to be freeze drying, speaking of freeze drying, these zucchini plants. One of my favorite things that I do have freeze-dried is shredded zucchini. I use that in meatballs. I use it in basically anything you would use like a breadcrumb for. When it comes to like meatballs or meatloaf or things like that, I can use freeze-dried zucchini. I also like freeze-dried zucchini as a thickener in like red sauces, even white sauces. It just adds a little veggie. And then my mother-in-law was just telling me about, I think she called it Amish flour, where you flour it, or you take your freeze-dried zucchini or dehydrated zucchini and you use it in place of flour. So actually tomorrow, I'm gonna take some of my freeze-dried zucchini and I'm gonna try making some bread using some zucchini flour. So for the cookies, I have 1 cup of butter in a thick, heavy bottom pot with 1 cup of butter and 1 1/4 cup of oats. And we're gonna start this on the stove first thing because we are gonna brown our butter. And that takes a few minutes. And we're actually gonna brown the butter and toast the oats at the same time. So that's why I have my butter and oats on here. One of my friends on Instagram sent me a reel of this recipe. I've never made this recipe before, so we're making it together for the first time. And I'm really excited about it because it looked absolutely delicious. If you want to make this recipe, I do have this recipe linked down in the description box. Now, one thing is these cookies do have to chill for at least an hour. So I did make up some cookie dough a little earlier, and that is in the refrigerator. So when this cookies are done, we can get those in the oven.
If you don't mind pausing for just a second.
Yeah.
I mean, you can cut stuff.
I'm going to chop some chocolate, and because these are chocolate chunk, not chocolate chip cookies. Go ahead, Josh.
So we have a couple questions about what you prefer to freeze dry.
Yeah.
Like, what's your favorite thing? Actually, someone asked what my favorite thing to have was.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to just say probably the most of the fruits, the strawberry, and then Becky did some sugar snap peas recently, and those were pretty good. Those were basically like the
processed ones,
the
that you
straws, the veggie straws.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, but real, which was cool. And then we also had a donation.
Oh.
And they asked, what do you prefer to freeze dry versus dehydrate?
So I actually prefer, well, I guess it depends on what kind of fruit. All herbs I prefer freeze dried. They have flavor, the color, everything is way better freeze dried versus dehydrated. I like to dehydrate some fruits. Now the texture of dehydrated and freeze dried is completely different. I need this butter to brown before we can add the rest of the ingredients. I will say real quick here, I already shredded my zucchini and have that weighed out, so I don't need to shred that. So I can just answer questions right now while that's browning. Dehydrated fruit shrinks in size and volume, and it gets really chewy. And I really like that chewy fruit texture, like that leather texture. And freeze-dried fruit it shrinks maybe a little bit, but it keeps most of its volume, and it gets really airy and light and crunchy. I like dehydrated fruit better. My family likes freeze-dried fruit better. And that's just a personal preference thing. I like the texture of dehydrated fruit. The cool thing about a freeze dryer is you can do a lot more things to freeze-dried things than you can to dehydrated things. I like dehydrated garlic and onion better than I like freeze-dried garlic and onion better than dehydrated. Dehydrators actually cook food at a very low temperature. Freeze-dried fruit or freeze-dried anything is actually raw. And so I like the flavor of freeze-dried garlic and freeze-dried onions better. Now I've never freeze-dried meat before. A cool thing about a freeze dryer is you can actually freeze-dry meat. And if you freeze-dry it raw and you reconstitute it, it's still raw. If you dehydrate meat, then you're basically making jerky and you're kind of cooking it. And so I like freeze-dried broth. You can freeze-dry broth and make like your own bouillon powder, but you can't really dehydrate it. I think you can technically dehydrate broth, but it kind of gets gummy from what I've researched. I've never tried it, but I've watched videos on it.
Have you already mentioned eggs? Sorry, I was reading
Oh yeah,
stuff.
eggs are fantastic. That's
Like
thank you.
scrambled eggs, kind of?
Yes. So when I freeze dry eggs, I don't have an abundance of eggs right now because I don't have that many chickens. We kind of get about the exact amount of eggs we need right now. But when I had 11 chickens and it was just Josh and I, scramble your eggs, freeze dry them, and in your baking, you cannot tell whatsoever between a freeze dried egg and a fresh egg. The flavor is a little bit different when you scramble them, only if you knew that they were freeze-dried eggs. I think that if you did a blind test with someone who didn't know that you were cooking up freeze-dried eggs as a scrambled form, you could probably easily put it past them, especially if you sprinkled some cheese on it.
Have you found that all fruit and vegetables are able to freeze dry, or are there some exceptions?
So, so far everything I have freeze-dried fruit-wise is fantastic, except for the berries that I did, the raspberries. Now, they taste really good, and I'm gonna use them in powdered form, mostly as a coloring agent. Strawberries and raspberries are gonna be what I'm gonna try to do all my Christmas coloring with and for Valentine's Day. But the seeds in the berries were very prominent because, you know, if you think of a berry, they don't have very much like juice to them or like substance to them. They're basically juice and then a seed. And so they were very seed forward, but I will use them in baked goods, and they're good in like granola, but I wouldn't say strawberries are fantastic, but raspberries I would say are not as fantastic just for like snack eating. And that's just a personal preference thing. So we're a couple minutes away from this being browned. When you're browning butter, what you're doing is you're actually toasting the milk protein in the butter, and it just creates this delicious flavor. So I wasn't going to, but I think I'm going to. Let me grab a bowl. Actually, yes, this is what I'm gonna do. I can go ahead and start weighing out my dry ingredients while we wait for our butter to brown. I do need to be careful though. I need to pay attention closely to that once it gets close.
It's starting to smell good.
You know, I probably shouldn't. You all are probably telling me, don't walk away from the butter as it's browning because this is when it can burn. So I'm not going to weigh anything out. I'm going to wait till this is done browning.
While that's browning, do you have a favorite zucchini recipe?
I love zucchini bread. I love zucchini muffins. Last year, or no, it was 2 years ago, I made those zucchini brownies. Oh, Josh is pointing to the, let me pay attention. Oh yeah, it's bubbling up. Oh yeah, I think this is done. No, I'm gonna give it another minute. When it comes to savory applications, there's this random recipe that I made up that Josh and I really like, and we had it for the first time with all our own homegrown things. You basically fry up some sausage. We like the pineapple, I think they're pineapple jalapeno sausages from Costco. And then you dice up some onions, you saute those after the sausage is nice and fried. And then you dice up a bunch of zucchini, you saute that just for a couple minutes, you season it with salt and pepper, garlic, and then you top it with a ton of diced tomatoes, slather that with cheese, put it in the broiler, and then the liquid from the tomatoes and zucchini kind of make a sauce, and we serve that over rice. That's like one of our favorite. That's not quite toasted yet. I'll bring you in close. I'll bring this to you so you can see what this looks like once it's fully toasted. But my favorite way that I've been using zucchini lately is the freeze-dried zucchini and adding it into, I add that into baked oatmeal for Josh and my family when we make baked oatmeal. So almost any time I have any flavored baked oatmeal, there's always zucchini added to it. And you can freeze your zucchini and add that to things as well, but it's nice that you don't have to thaw it. So I really like that aspect that, oh yeah, question.
So a couple things. I've had a couple of questions about the phone call when it comes to the giveaway.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say the area code or what number we'll be calling you, but I'll just say this, that the impersonators that are usually on the YouTube videos, they're just scanning for titles and descriptions that say giveaway.
Yeah.
And they're just going to comment. They're going to give you a WhatsApp number. They're going to want you to call them. And they don't have your phone number and know that you've submitted. They may have your phone number from if they're a scammer, but they don't know that you've submitted and have your phone number. So you'll get a call from us. The dead giveaway that's not a scam is we won't be asking for weird information like your social security number.
Or payment of any kind.
Or any payment. So that's the big scam that they try to do is they try to get you to pay shipping generally. So that, and they'll, I mean, especially for something that's shipped freight, they'll try and get you to pay like $300 or something. But the giveaway is free. There is no payment required. So we'll probably just need your address essentially to ship it. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think a scammer could do much with just your address. So if you get a call from us and it's me and Becky, and we sound like us, I guess even that could be fake these days, but generally speaking, it should be safe as long as we're not asking for weird stuff like that. Hope that clears it up a little bit. And I want to reiterate another thing. We mentioned it, but this is only for the USA. It's all 50 states, but it's not international. And it is one per person. So you can only submit one time per person, and you have to be 18 years or older.
Yes. And there was one other thing. The odds of winning just depend on how many people sign up. So.
Yep, no purchase necessary of any kind. It's just an odds game. Yeah,
and I'm really excited about this. And I hope that this method works so that we could do more of these in the future. I haven't done a giveaway in a long time just because it was so disheartening with the scammers. And so I don't want any of you guys to be taken advantage of.
I'll also say that it sounds like right now the website's a little bogged down, probably because we have maybe a lot of people going and submitting at the same time. So I promise the link works. Just give it a minute to load.
And you have a week to submit. So if you want to just hang out with me and then go submit later, set a reminder on your phone and you can submit later. You don't need to worry about doing it right now. Okay, so let's see if I can bring you in here. It's a little hard to see, but our oats are now toasty brown. It smells fantastic in here, and our butter has some nice color to it as well. So now what we're gonna do is actually add this brown butter and oats to this zucchini. And I'm realizing right now as I'm doing this, don't do this in a glass bowl because I'm adding really hot butter and oats, but we're just going to go with it and hopefully
we're just risking it.
Yeah. You at home, don't do that in a glass bowl. I think we're good though. Can you hear that sizzle? Oh, it smells so good. So the reason we wanted to add the oats and brown butter to the zucchini is just to cool the butter down a little bit. And now that this is cool, and an interesting thing about this recipe is there's no eggs in it. I had Josh look over the recipe a couple times because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something. And this recipe does give weights and just traditional cups and spoons if you prefer to use cups and spoons over weight. But I am trying to get better and more comfortable using my weight measurement. So I'm going to use grams, and the recipe does give grams and ounces, but I find that when I am making and I'm weighing it, I like grams because it's so precise. I'm going to grab a spoon real quick. So the next ingredient to our, I'm supposed to let this cool for just I think we're good. The zucchini was really cold because I had it in the fridge after I shredded it. So it would probably be more ideal if you let this cool a little bit longer, but I'm just gonna go with it because I do have cookie dough that's already chilled in my fridge. So just grabbing my recipe right here. So to this, we are going to add brown sugar, and I wanna make sure I tear my scale since I now have a spoon in there. And we are on grams, and I'm gonna add 80 grams of brown sugar. Brown sugar and brown butter together is a match made in heaven. That's good right there. Now we're going to add some white sugar. We're going to add 1 cup or, let's see, 220 grams. Perfect.
I feel like it was 159 or something, or 195 on the other website we saw. The 1 cup to...
That was a half a cup. Oh.
It doesn't matter. I guess you're doing the grams, so that's good, but...
Yeah. I did a bunch of baking over last week. I made 3 chocolate desserts, and there were some conversion problems we were having, and I had to call Josh in to help me with some conversions. So now we need 215 grams of flour, and my flour was wanting to be difficult. The nice thing about when you weigh stuff when it comes to baking is I don't worry about it as much when it comes to like white sugar because it doesn't compress down a bunch, but flour can greatly, dramatically, depending on like how long your flour's been sitting. If it's been sitting in a warehouse for a long time, it can really compress and it can make a big difference. Now this recipe does not call for vanilla, but I have a hard time baking anything without vanilla, so I'm gonna go ahead and put some vanilla in there. I'm gonna add some salt. And then I'm gonna add some baking powder. I've been having fun with all different kinds of salt lately, and we're gonna sprinkle some salt on our cookies before we bake them. That was cinnamon. Let me just go over everything to make sure I got everything in here. Flip the recipe over. I've done that before where I have forgotten to add something because I didn't flip my recipe over and it printed on a double-sided piece of paper. I'm just gonna mix my dry ingredients on the top a little bit together, and then I'm gonna go ahead and mix my ingredients together. And that is the cookie dough once we add our chocolate chunks. So it's pretty easy. It's nice that you don't have to grab out like a stand mixer or anything for this recipe. Oh, and I like cookies. If you've never made cookies with brown butter before, one nice thing about it is my butter was completely frozen. That's one reason it took so long to brown, because it had to melt first. And when you make brown butter cookies, you don't need perfect room temperature butter. You can just, you can pull it out of the fridge or the freezer. I store most of my butter in the freezer. And so I rarely have it so that it is room temperature. Okay, so this is now our cookie dough. You can see it's really soft and it is still very warm. So what I would do if I had let my butter and oats cool for about 15 minutes like the recipe says, I would then add my chocolate chunks. But I know that because I can feel this, if I add my chocolate chunks to this, my chocolate's gonna melt. So I'm actually just gonna set this over here because, Josh, would you be willing to grab me my cookie dough that I already have in the refrigerator?
Sure.
I'm gonna have him grab me some cookie dough real quick. And I'm just gonna slide this over here. So here you can see if my cookie dough was cooled, I would just take my cookie scoop, scoop it into cookie scoops, and then what I did, I'm gonna bring you in close, is I added a couple chunks of chocolate on the top, because if you really want your mix-ins of cookies to show after it bakes, you wanna sprinkle them or put them on the top. So if you're making like M&M cookies or something like that, and you really want them to show, you want to press just a couple in on the top. I'm not going to bake all of these because we don't need this many cookies, but I'm going to bake a few of them. And then we need to sprinkle salt on them. I probably should have sprinkled the salt on before they chilled in the fridge, but I forgot. So I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle it now. I've got some really fun flaky salt.
Do you have onto the freeze dryer stuff?
Yeah.
Maybe this is a little abrupt, but
do you
have
totally
a
fine.
recommendation on which of the pumps?
Oh, that's a great question. So when I first got my freeze dryer, which pump? We have the oil pump.
We have the oil pump, yeah.
And before I changed the oil, because there's an oil pump that about every 60 to 100 uses, you change the oil, and that's what I have. And then there is an oil pump that is oil-free, and you never have to change the oil.
An oilless pump.
An oilless pump. There you go. Let me show you this real quick. I love this question. So you saw the salt on there. I'm gonna pop this into the oven. Now the reason we wanted this to chill is because you could see how liquidy that batter is. The author of this recipe said that it needed to chill before they would come out nicely. So that's what I'm doing. So the oilless pump is quite a bit more expensive, and I was stressed out about the fact that I needed to change the oil because I've never changed the oil in my car. I've never changed oil. A freeze dryer is a very high ticket, expensive investment piece of equipment, and it like made me nervous to need to change the oil. But I changed the oil, and after I changed it, I was like, wow, that was really easy. There's one knob, you turn, it empties it, and then you add it. And I have only changed the oil of my freeze dryer twice. So about every season you need to change it. And so an oil-free one would be really nice, but if you want to save yourself some money and go with the oil one, it's way less intimidating than I thought it was going to be to change the oil.
Yeah, it's not a big deal.
No, it's very easy. So I think just depending on what your preference would be, there's lots of videos on YouTube. That's what I watched. I watched the videos on YouTube on changing the oil. Josh, would you be willing to set a timer for me for, let's start with 12 minutes. And it said 2 inches apart, which I didn't read until just
Siri,
now.
set a timer for 12 minutes.
Okay, yeah, they're more than 2 inches apart, so they
Another
should be.
housekeeping thing
Yeah.
is some people are saying that the site is very lagged down.
Oh.
So I would say if you're trying to submit and it's giving you errors or whatever, there's a chance that it's submitted, there's a chance it doesn't. You have until next Thursday, the 29th, to submit, so it doesn't hurt to try submitting again. It won't let you submit your email and phone number like duplicated twice. So if you want the reassurance, you could try later to resubmit it and just make sure that's in there.
You have to submit until we go live and announce the winner. So
I think, well, maybe an hour or two beforehand, because we'll get the list right before that. So
okay.
I would do it.
We'll do a last call on YouTube. I'll do a community post that says you have 24 hours to submit or something like that.
But for those of you here now, there's no need to wait.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. So any other questions? Because we've got 10 minutes where we can just hang out and talk and wait for our cookies.
We got a few. So we got a question from Tolanda. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. It says, "Hi Becky, I just got a Le Creuset Dutch oven for an anniversary gift. I've seen your bread video. Is there anything else that you can bake in it? I was toying with a cobbler."
Oh yeah, you could definitely do a cobbler. I use mine all the time. That was a gift Josh got me for, I think, did you get it for me for Christmas? Or my
It was
birthday?
Christmas, first couple years.
Yeah, I think we might have even been, no, we were in our first house, so we were married. We were dating when you got me the brazier pan. I would just use it just like a pot on the stove, just like you use anything. The only thing is, don't make hot sauce or pickles or anything where you're gonna be putting cups of vinegar and simmering on the stove for a long time, because even though it is enamel coated, there is that little bit of cast iron around the rim. And I think last year or the year before, made hot sauce in it and simmered, peppers and onions in vinegar for 30 minutes, and it did kind of rust my edge of my pot. So I did have to, it ended up being fine. It just took a lot of work to get it back. But I would just use it like any pot you use, or braising is really good. Roasts, if you want to make a delicious, delicious roast, you can brown your roast, pork, beef, whatever it might be, on the stove. Nice thing about doing it in your Dutch oven instead of in a crock pot is if you do sear it, you can sear it right in the pot. Add some veggies, add some wine if you like cooking with that, or a bunch of broth. Throw it in the oven at 225 degrees for 5-6 hours, and you will have the best roast ever. And that's about all the baking I do in it is bread. But
Yeah.
makes really good roast soups.
Have you ever made ghee?
I have not made ghee.
I guess, have you considered it?
I have thought about it, but I don't cook with ghee. I should, because I think it would taste really good. If you don't know what ghee is clarified butter or butter oil. So the milk proteins that we just browned in for those cookies, ghee, you actually remove those proteins from the butter and you just have the oil left. So if you're dairy free, you can have ghee usually, I think. I'm not an expert in dairy free, but I think you can have ghee because it doesn't have those proteins in it. And I've heard it tastes good. I've never cooked with it, so it's never been on the top of my priority list to make. But the cool thing about ghee is it has a much higher smoke point than butter does, because butter browns because of the milk proteins in it, and ghee doesn't have those, so you can sear steak or sear something at a higher smoke point because it's not going to burn because of the protein.
Cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I
You
also
didn't?
didn't know what it was, so there's that.
Yeah.
I'm not very cultured in that stuff. Besides fruit and candy, what else have you freeze-dried?
I've done coffee. Oh, cheese is another one. I didn't really love the freeze-dried cheddar, but the freeze-dried Parmesan is fantastic. And I haven't done that in a long time, so I should do that. So the awesome thing about that is I will go to Costco and get a big block, because Costco has the best price on like the real Parmesan Reggiano from Italy. And I will grate that down to really fine, freeze dry that, and then you have freeze dried shelf stable real Parmesan cheese. And now I need to do that because it's been way too long since I've done that. The thing that I do the most on repeat are like garden veggies. I like broth because it's really nice having your own homemade powdered broth on hand. Fruit, I do a lot of freeze-dried fruit. And I kind of have just skipped the step of starting with fresh fruit unless it's, like apples that grow on our orchard trees or something like that. If I'm going to freeze-dried fruit, I'm just going to go buy it already frozen, already diced, already washed, and then throw it in the freeze dryer, because then I don't have to go through the process of processing the fruit, and I don't have to go through, or bananas, I guess, are the only ones that I still will buy fresh that don't grow here. What else do I do? The veggies, I said that. The only thing I haven't, but mashed potatoes is fantastic, because you can make your mashed potatoes just like you would. So, and you basically are making your own instant mashed potatoes, and you can add all the fixings that you would normally put in mashed potatoes, and then you can reconstitute those.
Did you mention the marshmallows yet?
Oh yeah, the marshmallows. Those were fantastic.
We need to plan on a little more expansion than we did, but
yes,
they were pretty good.
Yeah, so Josh and I, we were talking, it got edited out of the video, but I don't know if you've seen on Instagram, there's like a trend of like making your own homemade cereal, like Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Cocoa Puffs. At least those are the two that keep popping up in my feed. And I've wanted to try those, and let me know if you want to see them if I do try them. And so Josh and I were talking, because I was talking to him about that it would be fun to try to make homemade Lucky Charms. Now, the only thing I was thinking is that I do worry, I was thinking about this after Josh and I were talking about it, because they do have that texture of that Lucky Charm marshmallow, I wonder if you put the milk on it, would it just disintegrate? I don't know. But putting those marshmallows in coffee, like breaking them up and putting them in coffee, is fantastic. And you all said hot chocolate, but I don't drink hot chocolate very often, but I drink coffee every day. And so I've put those little I've just broken them into pieces, because the marshmallows, if you didn't see that I freeze dried, ended up being huge. I do freeze dry quite a bit of candy, but not really for Josh and I. I freeze dry candy for honestly, my brother and my nieces and nephews. For a while, they didn't know I had a freeze dryer, and then they came to me and were like, "Becky, you have a freeze dryer?" And I said, "Yes." And so a lot of times when we have family dinners, I am handed a couple bags of candy, and I freeze dry those for them. I also freeze dry stuff for other people. I've freeze dried, one of my favorite things to freeze dry is organ meat, because I buy the majority of my meat from local farmers. You are able to request the organ meat, and Josh and I don't really enjoy eating organ meat, but that has a lot of nutrients in it, and my dogs go crazy for it. And so one of my absolute favorite things to freeze dry is organ meat, because if I didn't request it from my farmer, it would just get thrown away. That's how it works when you buy from farmers. They can't resell it. And so I find that would be a waste. And so having the ability to freeze dry that, have it shelf stable, and then my dogs get freeze dried organ meat every day is fantastic. And And I have heard people will freeze dry the liver and put it into capsules and take that. And I've wanted to try that. And so, what made me think of this? I interrupt myself quite a bit. Is I freeze dry organ meat for my friends and family too, because some of them also buy meat from local farmers, and they have, they want to do the same thing. And actually my friend, she put it into capsule form and was taking the liver in capsules, but I haven't done that yet. So, yeah.
It's Aki.
Josh is not interested.
We have some questions about the bees.
Oh, yeah.
We've had actually a few of them, so I stacked them together. But we have questions about whether we've been stung by bees or stung much. And I would say no, not really.
Josh, I think it went through one of your gloves.
I guess, yeah, I had a stinger. I made them really mad one day. I had a stinger go through a glove, and so I kind of felt a little poke, but it wasn't that bad. That might have been the first time I was stung, so it's the next one I think I have to worry about.
Yeah.
But it's been...
they've been very mild.
They're pretty mild. They're well-tempered.
Yeah, Josh had to get in there at one point on a very, very hot day, to add more boxes, and it just needed to be done. And so we couldn't wait for like a cooler day, because it was a week of really just it was a couple weeks of 90-degree weather. And so they weren't super happy about that, but just generally they have been very mild tempered and really fun, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was some burr cone. People have asked about the honey. So there was some extra burr cone that was probably one of the things that made them mad, is I had to take some of that out. So we got a little taste of some of the honey. That's there's a little bit of capped honey in there. Very tasty. It
was super light because it was early spring honey. This was probably in June. And so I guess like we've been watching lots of bee videos recently, like the later in the year, that usually depending, like as the different flowers come about and things, the honey gets darker and darker. But so it was like super light and mild. And
very floral.
Yeah. Do you want to tell them about
Yeah, we have a couple of other... We've seen bees going places we're not expecting. And I think we've had a couple of, not necessarily swarms, but they've split off in a few places. One of them is we had some old hives that we bought a couple years ago that we thought about using but never did.
Yeah.
Somehow they found it, and there's, I guess, a colony in there. And then we have another one in the green stalks, which is kind of fun.
One of the green stalks.
One of the green stalks.
Yeah.
We thought they were just getting water out of it because they're usually very moist. And no, there's a couple in there. We need to open them up and see what's going on.
I kept telling Josh that I was like, no, they're just getting water, because they do, because we water the pots on the patio and stuff. You'll see them, or in the garden, you see them a lot, where in the mornings when it's irrigated, they'll be like drinking the water where there's puddles like on the side of the garden bed or something like that. And then the other day, it's one of the strawberry green stalks was being watered, and there were a lot of bees, and they didn't seem super thrilled about the fact that it was being watered. And before we left, before we went out of town, that's when we discovered it. And so since coming back, Josh hasn't suited up to take, I'm going to give those, oh no!
Did it get turned off?
I turned the oven off. We're at 282. So I guess when I put these in the oven, because this was preheated before I put them in the oven.
This oven's a little finicky.
Yeah.
Sometimes it turns on its own.
They're not done yet. They're going to take a couple more minutes. Shoot. Oh, well. That is the risk, I guess, of cooking live, is that the oven can get turned off. So we realized that was the case before we went out of town, and then we got back, and he hasn't suited up yet. And so what he's going to do, I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's going to have one of those boxes that we had purchased from a beekeeper used, and he'll have that ready. And so if there is a colony in there, he can transfer it into
the other box.
Yeah, but it's going to be kind of a mess. It's going to be a whole thing.
It's got to be a very small colony because there's not a lot of space.
Yeah.
It's a really odd spot for them to take home, but
yeah, because if you think of a green stalk, they're there is space like where it comes up, but
then there's like water coming down it.
Yeah.
So
we're not sure.
So that's, I guess, as far as the bee updates go, we're going to add a little bit more space for them because they're starting to outgrow the 2 boxes we have. So that's kind of exciting.
And we have decided that we're not going to collect any honey this year. We said we might just crack one of them and like try it, but we'll shoot for next year to collect honey.
And then we've had a couple of other questions about me baking.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So I guess me being in the room doesn't satisfy that requirement, but there's been a suggestion that maybe when we hit 700,000 subs, that maybe
you go live?
That's a lot of pressure, but maybe if we do a video with me and you cooking something, that might be kind of fun.
I'm doing a dinner party again next week. Probably won't hit it by next week, but you could do the baking for that if you wanted to.
That'd be fun.
I think I'm gonna make a couple different desserts like I normally do. I haven't made ice cream sandwiches yet. And actually this recipe said that these make really good ice cream sandwiches. So maybe, because I will have plenty, I'm gonna just throw the rest of this cookie dough in the freezer. But maybe I'll take some of this cookie dough and bake it and make ice cream sandwiches out of it for the dinner party. But I do want to make a peach cheesecake. I saw with the homemade, instead of using store-bought graham crackers, using those homemade graham crackers that I made. I threw all those graham crackers, since we didn't use them for family dinner, I threw them in the freezer, so they're just waiting to be used for something like that, which is gonna be so good. Okay, so what I did is I stirred in my chocolate chunks, and now I am taking my cookie scoop and I am scooping these out into cookies on this lined baking sheet. And then I'll pop this into the fridge, but then later I'll probably pop it in the freezer and then put these in just a bag to bake up later. Let's see. Okay, they're starting to bake now. So harvest out in the garden is starting to come in full swing. This is here's a little show and tell. This is the biggest tomato I have harvested so far this year. And so that's beautiful. So probably when I make that bread tomorrow using some zucchini powder, I'll cook up some bacon and we'll have some BLTs, which...
Oh yeah, that sounds great.
We haven't had a BLT yet this summer. We've eaten a lot of tomatoes. We just haven't had... You know what I did do is with those bagel sandwiches that I made when the tomatoes were coming in, when we still had some of those, we've already gone through all those with the homemade bagels, is I was slicing tomatoes and putting those on those bagel sandwiches when I heated them up, and they were so good. If you've never made bagels before.
Oh yeah, those were great.
Those were so good.
Yeah.
I won't make those every time I make breakfast sandwiches for the freezer, but it does elevate a breakfast sandwich. That is for sure. But the key is to try to remember to thaw your sandwich before you actually go to cook it. So this makes quite a few cookies. The recipe said 20 cookies. The first time I made this, I got exactly 20, and this time I haven't done the math yet. Let's see. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 22. So they're a little bit smaller, and if the dough was a little bit firmer, I would probably just add the dough to the other cookies. But because it's still pretty soft, I'm just going to go ahead and add some chocolate chunks to the top of these, and we'll call that good. Hey, Josh, did you happen to set a timer for...
I didn't.
Okay, I'm going to check. Oh,
So I didn't really know what to set it for.
my oven is now preheated.
Someone asked if we could do 50% off for your hosting guide.
Oh,
What do you think about that?
I think we could do that.
I think we could probably for a limited time here. I could post a link
Oh.
or a code to the
That's
chat.
awesome. I love that.
We haven't really promoted that
I haven't.
very much at all. So
So I can talk about it a little bit if you wanted to know what.
sure, I've got to set up the promo anyway.
Yeah. So my mom and I, because you all know that we like to do parties, and my mom is very, very good at doing very big parties and hosting lots of people. And one of our goals when we have parties is to try to enjoy, I'm gonna wash my hands real quick because there's tons of chocolate on it. Josh, you wanna mute me real quick?
Sure.
And you wanna talk about where they can find it?
Yeah, I'm kind of, my brain's somewhere else, but you can find the Happy Hassle-Free Hosting Guide on our website. And I believe it should be actually linked. It's linked in most description boxes down below. But if you go to scratchpantry.com and then go to the store or to, shoot, I'm blanking on it live. Go to the store or to guides. You should be able to find it there. And it's got a video of Becky and her mom going through some of the material, has downloadable content, and it has 5 parts on how to plan out a hosting or how to host a party in a hassle-free way.
Am I still muted?
No.
Okay.
No.
So basically what Josh just said is what it is, but I think it's almost like an ebook because I think it's like 36 pages of kind of the written down of what my mom and I do and how we think through a party and how we like meal plan for a party. And basically our goal when it comes to having people over is to try to enjoy our guests and try to get as much done in advance as possible. And so it just kind of breaks those steps down in a written form if you enjoy reading things, or if you enjoy listening to things, then we sit down and we do the video where we kind of go through what we wrote down and kind of elaborate more. And then there are printables that go along with it that have like your menu plan and stuff like that. I think these are done.
So I didn't really think through the ramifications of doing the discount only for live because people will watch this after the fact.
What if we do the discount until the giveaway?
Okay, we could do that.
Yeah.
For the next 9 days.
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be interesting. So I will post that to the description. We're planning on having that be AH Live 50. If you use that, you should be able to get 50% off.
Awesome.
And I will post that in the description and then also chat it here for you.
I love that because, well, it's not quite there yet, but hosting season is just around the corner. I think I have a party planned at least once a month. Well, we have one this next week, and then we have one, I think, almost every month now until the holidays. So that'll be fun. And I'm excited. I don't know what I'm making yet, though. So the only thing I know that I'm going to be making for this party is the cheesecake and baguettes. I want to learn to make baguettes, and I found a really cool recipe that's like a no-knead baguette. I bought the linen, what is that called? Cloche. Josh is looking at me like he has no idea. It's linen where you bake the baguette on this linen thing in the oven. So that's gonna be fun. I think they're quite done. So if these don't turn out perfect, it is because the oven got turned off halfway through, but they're still gonna taste delicious.
I mean, we kind of planned on doing this for an hour, so it should be perfect. Yeah. Potentially.
I need to turn the light on. I need to stop opening the oven. You probably are yelling at me, don't open the oven, Becky. There we go. Now the light's on, so I can peek at it that way. So I'm just going to throw these in the fridge, and then probably tomorrow, when I think about it, I will toss those in the freezer. Or maybe I'll bake a bunch more up. I don't know.
I like that idea. Either idea.
So tomorrow we are going to be doing a bunch of preservation stuff together. And I harvested a ton of onions, and I am going to be harvesting the Anaheim peppers, and I'm going to roast them and basically make like the fire roasted peppers that you buy in a can. I'm going to see if I can make those with my peppers. My tomatoes are starting to ripen up. This is my first Roma tomato. I've got about 10 red Roma tomatoes out there, and then I have hundreds that are green. And I am itching to make more marinara sauce. We ran out of that probably 3 months ago, and that recipe was so fantastic that I cannot wait to make those again. I think I'm gonna take these out.
Before you forget, you have several people urging you to salt the top of those cookies.
I did.
Those ones, I think.
Oh yeah, you're
That's
right.
what I thought at first too, but.
So these are now out of the oven. Now, one thing I did not take into account was these probably need to cool a bit before we can eat them.
Wait, now we have people urging us to not salt until we cook them. So I'm torn.
Oh, these?
Maybe we could do some tests. You can salt half
Yeah,
of them.
I'll salt half of them. That's a good idea.
And then we'll see how that works. Becky used like a finishing salt.
Yeah, this is Malden salt. The stuff that I got at Costco if you went shopping with my mom and I. I had never heard of this salt before, and then I was watching reels, as one does, and a potter, someone who makes pottery, was making a salt dish like this that is in their brand, and I had never heard of it before, and let me tell you, that was the best marketing ever. I don't think he was sponsored or anything by them. He was just making a dish for the salt, and I saw it at Costco and I bought it, and it is really delicious. If you've never seen it before, it's hard to see, but they're like crystals. They're not like traditional salt. So I put salt on half of them, and then the other half are, see, like this one, Josh, it's like a crystal in the shape. I'm gonna see if I can show this to you. It's like in the shape of a pyramid.
Yeah, I can see that from here.
Can you? Here, maybe if I put it on.
Oh yeah, on the black might help.
I think it's a sea salt that they dry. Can you see it? Like the shape of a pyramid. It goes up in a point, just like a pyramid. Like, it kind of looks like a pyramid that has steps to it. Okay, so these look delicious. I think because they are so hot still and they don't have egg in them that you probably do need them to fully, oh, that's cool before you could pick it up like a cookie. But I'm gonna give this to you, Josh.
Sweet.
I'm going to get one. And I don't know if you noticed, I did it and I didn't say anything, is I took a cookie, not a cookie, yeah, a cookie cutter. And when they were hot, oh, let me show you this. I've seen this trick online, and this is the first time I'm actually doing it, and this recipe says to do it. And it does make them look a lot neater. I've already done it once, but you take your cutter and you kind of go around and it rounds out the edges. Now they taste the same whether you do that or not, but it just makes them look a little bit more professional.
Also, before I forget, we've had some very, they're urgently needing an answer to where you got your spice jars.
Oh, wait, those ones?
I think spice jars also salt containers, so maybe both.
My salt container is pottery that I got at a art fair, and I wish I knew the name of the potter. Oh, I've never thought to look at the bottom. Her name is Amy Fields. This was made in 2013. That's how long I've had this. And she used black clay, and now I'm gonna Google her. Amy Fields, like the field of flowers. She has 3 little dots on the bottom. And I always regretted that I only bought one of these and not 2. They were expensive. And so that's all I could only buy one at the time. But I wish I had a pepper one and a salt one. And then these ones are Fido jars. They are an Italian jar with a flip top. Okay, so have you tried your cookie yet, Josh? Oh yeah, so now that it's cooled a little bit, it's more cookie shape, but I don't think I could.
They definitely need to set up just a little bit longer. They're very warm.
They're very warm.
I've not taken a bite yet.
Do you want a fork?
I got a grasp of one.
Okay. Yeah. I think they would fully set up and they would be, like a cookie if they weren't still 200 degrees. You can try it?
Yeah.
Do you want to mute me?
I'll mute both of us.
Okay. So you'll just have to live with your thoughts for just a second while we try this.
That was really good.
That's really good. That, as an ice cream sandwich, would be, I'm going to not take another bite, but I will finish that cookie. Decadent.
The salt on top is really nice.
Yeah.
Nice
And
touch.
the brown butter, if you've never had it, it kind of gives that like butterscotch caramel flavor, especially when you combine it with brown sugar. So good. Any last questions?
We have a lot of them. I'm sorry that there's a lot that we've missed for sure, but I've been trying to scrape them. We do have a question of, do you ever substitute summer squash with zucchini in your bread or cookie recipes?
Oh yeah. I consider yellow summer squash and zucchini the same vegetable. Yeah. I don't worry about that at all.
For some reason, I don't like the yellow ones as well.
Oh, really?
I don't know why.
Because they have the squash in the name?
Maybe it's the squash.
Squash. Josh usually calls squash squash.
Yeah. And then we have a question about, have you ever thought about making hard cheeses?
I have. It has been something I've wanted to do for a very, very long time, but it feels like the learning curve is huge. So I have not. I probably should take a class. I really wish there used to be in Portland a place called the Homestead. What was that place called, Josh, that I used to take classes at? Homestead Supply Company or something like that. And I took a mustard making class there. I took a mead making class there. This was when Josh and I first got married. I took a soft cheese making class. They never offered a hard cheese making class. I really like taking classes, and I learn the best that way. And so if I could take a class, I feel like 2020 kind of killed some of those things that used to be in Portland that I used to be able to take classes on those types of things. But no, I want to though. It's on my list.
You've got a long list. A lot of things to do.
Yeah. The one thing about cheese is it's a commitment. It's like, you make Parmesan and you really, ideally it would sit for 2 years, but minimum you want it to sit for 9 months. And so you kind of want to start making it and just keep making it and making it, even if you don't know how it's going to turn out, because you don't want to wait nine months. I don't know. But yeah, it's on my list of things to do. My dream would be to have a milk cow and make all my cheese and all my butter and my sour cream. But
There's only so many hours in a day.
there's only so many hours in a day.
I can't imagine. You've mentioned it many times, so I'm not sure it won't happen at some point, but
Yeah, maybe when we're retired. But then, you have a milk cow, and, Josh and I, we've talked about this. There's no way we could
consume
that much milk because we don't drink a lot of milk. We really I put it in coffee and then I cook with it. And so, but we do eat a lot of cheese and we eat a lot of sour cream and we eat a lot of butter. But
That's for sure.
that's for sure. That's when you then need the pig to, consume. Go down a rabbit hole, but you can only do so many things. So kind of gardening's my thing, and learning to cook other things, I guess, is my thing. So it's fun. I probably should learn to make sourdough first, because that's probably a lower barrier to entry than
Cheese.
hard cheese. And we have been talking for quite some time now. We were able to make a delicious recipe. Let me show you how these are now kind of firming up. Well, these are still soft. They're so delicious. I want to eat this. So I want to thank you for being here. If you are interested in the giveaway, the link will be down in the description. If the website is bogged down right now, don't stress about it. Just go back to it, because you have a little over a week until we announce the winner. We will announce the winner live on YouTube, and the only way we will contact you is through your email that you give in the entry and the phone number. And there will be no requests for any sort of payment. It is a free gift. So I want to thank you for being here. If you want this cookie recipe, that will be linked down below as well. I want to thank you for being you, and we're excited to see you next time. Bye, friend.
Bye.